All right, let me take this time to welcome the both of you on La Verdad Duele Podcast. And obviously, you speak Spanish, and I don't, and so
You said it
uh,
the right way, man. That was perfect.
yeah, my wife has been helping me, man.
I love it.
So yeah, this is gonna be fun. And all right, welcome to La Puyaka Puyaka. Welcome to La Verdad Duele. I'm your host Tijani Musa, and in the studio today I have two brothers, two amazing brothers, who are going to talk to us about how you turn a content into profit. But before we get into that story, first we want to know who they are as people, and then just try to understand their story. I'll tell you, man, these two guys over here have some amazing story, and so I'm just gonna introduce them very briefly. The one on my left is Luis Camejo, and then the one on my right is also Luis, but he goes by Franzo Camejo. They are brothers, and they are doing amazing things. They went to college here in the United States. They were aspiring soccer players, and now they have decided to get into business. The both of them actually studied business in college. Luis studied business, and then Alfonso also studied business management, or vice versa, one of them. But the
We
the
went to
story is
school.
that
We went to school.
yeah, the story is that they both went to school and they study business. And so before we get into how you turn content into profit, I'm gonna ask Fonzo, use one word to describe Luis, and then vice versa. How do you describe each other? One word.
Driven.
Driven. And Luis, how do you describe your brother?
Explorer.
Explorer. Okay, that's perfect. That's
Yes.
perfect. Driven explorers. Okay. So we have two people that are curious about the world, and then they explore it, and they are driven also about the world, and so they try to help other people get better and improve their lives. Before we go into uh the main topic of the day, Luis, tell me about your story, man, growing up in Venezuela.
Oh man. How long do we have?
Briefly.
uh, Briefly. Okay. Yeah, man. Let's see. We are from the capital, from Caracas.
Okay.
We have an awesome family. We've been always super tight. Um, got raised in a Catholic home, even though after a few years that kind of dissipated a little bit because our mom is very into the spiritual, manifestation kind of stuff. She does martial arts, so there was really a mix of a bunch of stuff, right? The cool thing is like our parents like always gave us opportunities. They were like, guys, whatever you want to do, go do it. Like it doesn't matter. I remember my dad saying one time, he's like, hey, if you want to be a shoe shiner, that's okay. Just be the best shoe shiner ever, right? And as long as it makes you happy. And I think they had their own experiences, and that shaped the way that we were raised. From very little, like our dream was to be professional soccer players. As long as we can remember, really.
Yeah. I still feel like that dream is like alive somewhere,
that is like the little like thing like right there that we never got to like experience really fully. But even though we had amazing opportunities with the sport, so growing up, we had a wonderful school. It was like a very small kind of tight community. My class was about 20 people.
I was 30.
30. So we grew up from like first grade all the way to high school graduation with the same people. So we had really they're literally our brothers and sisters, and we still have the relationship with them more than 10 years later, right, after graduation, which is insane to say that now, right?
Yeah, I
Ooh.
know.
But growing up close neighborhood, we will walk to the soccer field, play every single weekend with older people. We will come back and all full of dirt, and it was nothing really to complain with the family. We were very fortunate because we will travel around the country, like with just road trips, right? So we got to
Right.
see the beautiful country of Venezuela, like in person, like like all these beautiful areas, and meet wonderful people, right? But then in 99 things started to change because they got a new new government, and then everything started to go kind of downhill. So with that, safety was an issue. You could not really go out on your own a lot, and things started to happen with the government, which we could dive deep, but not really. Like that's one of the things we want to stay away, like politics. But we got the opportunity to actually go to Europe and play soccer there. In my case, it was a couple of years. I was in Spain and Italy. Fonzie was there for how long?
Like a summer.
2 months. Yeah. He's not that good. I'm kidding. He's the best. He's the best player out of both of us. But we got that opportunity. I left when I was 15. Fonzie followed. When did you leave home? When you were like 18, maybe?
Yeah, I left. So I get my first my first independent experience was in Europe for like that one summer. That was 15. But again, it was just a summer. But when I like officially moved out was me just like recently turning 18. And I came here to the US just to go to college.
Actually, let's talk about that US experience. The two of you are aspiring soccer players. You left your home 15, and then you left 15 also going to Europe. But you have some amazing story about how you were in Spain recording yourself playing soccer and sending those clips to coaches in the United States. Fonzo, please explain to me that story of you sending over 200 emails to coaches in the United States and only receiving 2 responses. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so like up to this point actually is when we actually realized that we took like a salesman approach to the recruiting aspect, right? Like chasing the opportunities. Yeah. And I'm pretty grateful of my dad that he was like, hey, if you want something, you got to go get it, right? Like don't wait for it. You got to be proactive. So we were also super fortunate that my dad was very invested in our dream as well, right? He would take us practices, games, and he will film our games, right? So he filmed all these games, right? He like throughout a whole season, we did extremely good that season, luckily, right? And I didn't know how to edit any videos, but I was like, hey, we got some cool stuff in here. Let's just slap something together, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with this video. So we put a nice video together. It's in YouTube, actually. It's still out there.
Go find it. We have a special prize if you send it to us.
I'm not going to lie. So sometimes I watch it and I'm like, wow, good memories. Like you see the dirt fields that you never see here in the States. Like they're filled with like a bunch of rocks. It's awesome. But once I had the video, right, I was like, well, now what do I do with this? And there was this one company that they kind of did that for you. You could just work with them and they had the contacts, right? And they facilitated that. But I was like, I'm just gonna do it myself. Like I got time. Let me just find a way. So I went into the NCAA website where they list all the schools that play a sport, right? And I went on soccer, of course. And then I went on each division, made a list of all the schools that were there with their website, then went individually per website looking for their coach. And it was super easy actually to get the coach email. Like all you had was to like hover the mouse on top of their picture. And I don't know why at the bottom it would say their email. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. So I started copying a bunch of emails, and then I just send them individually an email. Like I didn't do one email and send it to all 200 of them.
You customize.
I customized it, right? I was like, hey, coach, blah, blah, I love your school. I think this is amazing because of these reasons. I'm from Venezuela. I played as a forward. I would love to be a part of your team. Here's a video so you can watch me.
Wow.
I sent that, like 200 schools, right? And I mean, it was devastating not receiving too many answers, don't get me wrong, right? But at the same time, realistically, how many of those did actually get my email? I don't know. How many of those that got it actually opened it? I don't know. And how many of those that actually opened it answered, right? I only know 2 of them that answered. Yeah. And the 2 that answered were positive answers. They actually invited me. They're like, hey, we love the video. We would love for you to be a part of the team. Let's hop on a call. And then we talk scholarship money, right? One school, they offered me some money, but we weren't able to afford the rest. And the other school, they made an offer that we were like, let's do it. Hands down, the best offer. Let's go play to Wichita Falls, Texas, in the middle of nowhere. I think it's going to be an awesome adventure. And I mean, it turned out great. Like I went, the experience was absolutely amazing.
Right.
I was only there for a year. After a year, I moved to a different city. And after 2 years in the other city, I moved here to Jacksonville. So I've been all over the place. But that approach of taking, kind of like my destiny in my own hands, like, okay, I'm going to be proactive. I'm going to search for it instead of waiting, paid out by, bringing me here to the States. Whatever happened after that, all the the story after that is completely different. But it's absolutely awesome that just putting yourself out there can accomplish so many things, right? And I think a lot of people, whether that is business or life in general, like they wait for a lot of stuff instead of, hey, let's put ourselves out there, let's go get it, and let's be proactive about it.
Right. You can't always wait for it to be perfect. You can get
Definitely.
perfect along the way, but you have to take that initial step, right?
Absolutely.
Oh my God, man, y'all cool. I'm gonna open it up to the viewers and people that are watching us live. If they have any questions for the two of you and they want you to answer the question, they can type it up on the comment, and then I'll try to ask that specific question to either of you, and you can answer that. So, okay, you went to the college, and Luis, your story was very similar as well, but you had about 10% people responded to you.
Well, I say that, but honestly, I have no idea. It was very little. We did so. My show was a little different because the first year we actually got the help from that company, right? So we got a scholarship from that company to help us out on the recruiting side.
Right.
What happened is, like, we received an offer, and probably 3 months we never signed the letter. Like, it was on the way for us to sign it, and then I got injured. Like, this massive glass door somehow exploded and cut my foot, and the cut got infected, and I was literally sitting on a couch for about 4 months without moving. So when that happened, we notified the college, and they were like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Like, we pull back our offer. So bye-bye." Right. And I'm like, holy moly, like, that's it. Like, okay. So I assumed that was it, right? That I wasn't gonna be coming to the US to play, and I was supposed to go to West Texas and A&M. So no hard feelings, West Texas A&M. That's okay.
I just want to add some fire here to the story. In those 4 months that he was in the couch, with his leg up, just waiting for the injury to heal, his girlfriend dumped him too.
Oh, that's
just adding some fire to the story.
Oh.
Well, thank you, man. Now I'm gonna cry the rest of the day. Anyways, but you know what? That was one of those, like, key moments where perspective comes to play, right? So nothing I could do, external factors. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay here in Venezuela. I'm gonna do my college career. This was after playing in Europe for a couple of years. I'm just gonna go to college and get my education. I was working with Red Bull, the brand at the time, so I saw a future there. And then I started playing again, right? Just for fun. I was like, I need soccer in my life, and with the work, with college, it was fun for a little bit, but then again, political situation gets in the way, and I'm like, wow, this is maybe not the place for us to be. We need to go find new opportunities. And thanks to our parents that are always like, go out and, go get it, right? Like Fonzie mentioned, I was like, we need to get back into the horse and go back to the States, because that might be the best opportunity, right? Like, we play soccer all our life. This is what we're good at. Let's use it to actually get this opportunity for a better future. So went back into those emails, and at that moment, we started reaching back out to the people that kind of came to us with an initial offer the year before. So at the time, I was almost 21. I was 20, and for a college athlete, that's too old. That, like, you get college athletes at 17, right? That are starting their D1 career,
right?
And somehow, with the power of the universe, or God, or however you want to call it, I was able to get a D1 school full scholarship here in Florida. And, as soon as we got that, we're like, send those papers as soon as possible. I'm going to stay away from glass doors so my foot stays healthy and I don't get cut again. And we signed those papers, and, long story short, here we are. So yeah, same thing. It takes one. It takes one to respond to your outreach. That's it.
Wow. That's crazy. And just to because I know you're gonna cry after this because Fonzo was talking about your girlfriend. You are not happily married and you have a kid, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
There you go.
Yes, Katie, my beautiful wife, she doesn't listen to any of these episodes, but that's okay. She's like, I hate your radio voice. But yes, I mean, happily married. We've actually been in the relationship for about 9 years, married 4, 1 year old. So good things, man. Good things. I want to throw fire back to Fonzie. He recently broke up like 3 months ago, and he's been on a constant soul search.
I'm on a soul search. I'm on my explorer side. Yeah.
I know. I was listening to one of your episodes, and Fonzie was talking about how he goes to coffee shops. He's obsessed with coffee shops.
Yeah, I love him.
If you see your business account, 50%
there's a lot of coffee expenses.
50% of the expenses are just coffee from coffee shops. Yeah.
It's funny because you can see the transition like a few episodes like at the beginning. I'm like, yeah, my girlfriend is saying this and that. Like I'm doing this with my girlfriend, and then like 2 episodes later, I'm like, my ex-girlfriend.
There's like clear cut.
Hey, as long as you're asking for your 10% discount.
That's right. Hey, absolutely. You gotta go. Yeah, you gotta put yourself in that uncomfortable place of growth.
That's right. All right. So we have a question live for you. Lenny Mendez is asking how old you are when you sent those 200 emails.
Yeah. So I was around the age of 16, 17. I graduated high school at 17. So I was already, like I had in mind that I wanted to go to the States. I was already studying for my SAT, the tests that we need to take for getting into college. Right. And, I was like, better to start this early than have to reach out and then wait an extra year in case anything happens. So 16, 17 is when I started doing it and when I started studying for my test and everything. And at 18 was like at the beginning of when I was 18 is when I flew here to the US finally.
At 16 years old, 17 years old, 18 years old, where did you get that drive? I know you're driven according to your brother, but where did you get that drive to have control of your future at that young age?
Honestly, like I think it comes down, for me personally, I think it comes down to experiences. Like one moment in my life that I really remember that I think it like marked me was when I was 12, that my brother was 15 and he was leaving for the first time to go to Italy to play soccer, right? And up to this point, we were practicing a lot. Like we practiced pretty much every single day. And finally I got to see my brother leaving and thinking to myself like, whoa, this is real, like you really can accomplish your dreams. Like it can happen. So at 12, I remember he was leaving. I was crying in the airport. I was like, oh, brother, don't leave me. And
he does that every afternoon when I leave the office.
Don't leave me. And
he still does it?
Every time,
man,
part of the DNA.
It's the little brother syndrome right there.
I love it.
Like I remember that moment because I was like, I want to leave. Like, not like I want to leave because I don't like my parents, because I love my parents, right? But I'm like, I want to be independent. I want to like have my own story, like build my own thing, right? And since that moment, it was more like that's what I had in mind. I was like, okay, where's the opportunity? How can I get out there, right? And at 15, I had the chance to go to Europe for a few months and play, which was absolutely amazing, eye-opening, met great amounts of people. But then when I was graduating high school, I had a few friends that were going, for an extra year of high school here in the States. And I was like, oh, that is so cool. Like, I want to do it too, right? And like, I want to have those experiences. I want to have the experience of playing for a different team in a different country. So I think that is what drove me to, let's get it. Let's not sit down here and wait, but like, let me go and get it myself.
I love it. I love it. Again, I just want to open it up to the people that are listening to us live. If you have any questions for Luis and Alfonzo, you can type it up on the comment and I'll ask the question live. The both of them are from Venezuela, and both of them are brothers. The one to my left is older, about 2 years or 3 years older than the one to my right, Alfonso. So that's, man, y'all cool, man. Amazing. So
thank you.
Luis, I want you to comment, because usually you don't see this type of things. I've heard the saying that don't mix family with business or something like that. how are the two of you able to start up a business together? How is that like? How fun was that?
It's absolutely amazing. It's funny, like these questions keep coming up in the people that bring us into their shows. I think the why, and I was in an interview earlier and we talked about this, right? The why is so big for us that any issues that might come up, they're insignificant, right? It's a matter of perspective.
Right.
So how do we start the business? As soon as we were getting ready, like to leave college, right? I personally, like I can speak for myself here. I saw a lot of frustrated people with their careers, right? Especially with the major that they were going, we saw student athletes go into these corporations and they were not happy. And I started receiving a lot of that feedback internally. Also, we've always had kind of like an entrepreneur spirit on top of the athletic. We sold these like t-shirts in our school where we'll go to this market and buy them for like $5 and then we will upsell them in our school for 30, right? And that started really, really young. Yeah. So we always had that bug. And I remember when I was with that injury, sitting in the couch, at 19 years old, like trying to figure out what to do with my life. I consumed a lot of content, and I saw that a lot of people had like brands, and I wanted to create like this movement, this brand called Mass Life, right? Mass Life is how can we get more of the life, and just positive messaging and a blog, and that continued to evolve through college. With a blog, we actually launched a blog, which is awesome. We actually met with people that will write for us, and but then we actually did live events too, which is insane.
That was a pretty cool live event.
And then that kind of gets stale because then corporate life was going to start. So I was like, okay, let's find what are we good at, right? We read this book, the One Thing. And obviously soccer was something that we were decent at enough to get scholarships here in the States, but we never saw that as like a way of business or to the level that we really wanted, right? There's gonna be a project in the future that's gonna be super cool, and we'll announce it when it's due, but we never saw personal coaching as a way of living at that point, like maybe to help out here and there. So we looked for a job that was very flexible so we could pay the bills while we built something. And then we saw that and we're like, okay, well, we're kind of good at social media. We know how to use social media. Kind of like we probably can. We thought we were good. Like, this happened like 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago.
Right.
So we started like that, and then we went out, and yes, there has been some rough moments, but it's okay because the why is so big, right? We want to bring the family together. We want to be next to them, and that means that we need to be in a economical position, where we can provide for them not to worry, right? And because that happens, there's certain things that we need to hit in our business. There's certain things that we need to achieve, and we will overcome any argument, any situation, any change of identity, any exploring, any like super driven Luis, right? Where we can sit down and meet in the middle and be like, let's execute, right? So especially now, we're in growth mode, and challenges come our way every single day. And if we are not together doing this, it's going to be really challenging to achieve that big why. So that is a very quick version on how we work together.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Fonzie.
Our secret was that we got the fighting out of the way when we were kids, like we just did all the fighting pre 15, 16-year-old. So now there's no fighting left to do, and now we get along.
Yeah.
The fighting energy went away, and now it's all about brotherly love and business. I love it. So when the both of you graduated from college here in the United States, the both of you went to college. You studied business, like I said in the beginning. You started working at Happy Feet Soccer, training young kids that are interested in soccer. You go to daycares and whatnot. You do all of those things. Alfonso, when did you realize that soccer wasn't for y'all and you need to start looking at something else? When was that? What was that thing that made you realize that, you know what, we've had fun in soccer, we've done what we needed to do, now it's time to change that?
Yeah. So I'm going to back up here a little bit, and I'm actually going to tell a story that it is not soccer related, but it's going to tie into what we're talking right now,
Okay.
For me, the corporate life, kind of like being in an office, was never like an option, right? So we have when we graduate high school or last year, we have to do an internship. Internship. I don't think my brother had to do it, if I'm being honest. I think that started like with my year.
Yeah.
And I did it for this nonprofit that they work in the environment side, right? So like planting trees and stuff like that. And I remember that I had a few days of the week that I had to be at their office, and I had another few days that I had to be like on the field. And when I was at the office, that was during a Euro Cup, if I'm not mistaken. There was some sort of tournament, and I would,
oh my God,
yeah, I would not do any work. I was just like streaming the games and sitting down. But I was also like, this place is so dark. Like this office is so dark. I don't like being sitting down here for so many hours. You know, like I remember that my experience there wasn't enjoyable. And when I was out on the field, I was like walking around, like picking mangoes off the ground, eating mangoes, and I was having a blast. I was like, I meant to do something outside, right? And at that point, I knew I wanted to be a soccer player. I was working towards it, right? I was about to graduate high school. So when we came here to the States, fast forward like 4 years, and I come here to Jacksonville, and you know, I think it was awesome coincidence, but the summer that I was here visiting my brother, I was actually going to go to a different school. I already signed the papers, everything. Right. And a new professional team landed in town, and they're like, hey, we're going to have open tryouts. And I was like, you know what? I've been practicing all summer. I just want to go out there and play a little bit with people. So I'm going to do the tryouts. Honestly, I was like, just for fun. So I go play a bunch, and the coaches are like, hey, we like you. We want you to come back to another tryout. And I was like, awesome, more playing. So I come back to another tryout. At the end of the tryout, they're like, hey, we would like you to be on the team. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, that's awesome, right? So for me, it's like, I'm so close, you know, to achieving my dream of being a professional soccer player. So I called the other school. They were super supportive. They're like, hey, do it. Once in a lifetime opportunity. I had my brother here, so I could live with him. I lived in his living room / couch for a bunch of months. And then, you know, I spent like 6 months with the team, and at the end, they didn't offer me a contract. And that was the day when I remember I went to my girlfriend's house at the moment, and I sat on the table and I started crying, eating breakfast, because we were practicing like at 6 a.m. So I would come back 8:39, and I was just crying because I knew inside, I was like, man, this was probably my last chance to play professionally, right? And that's it. Like, I don't have it anymore. So, I mean, I still stayed involved with the team. I went back and I was like, hey, I just want to be involved. How can I help you guys, right? And they let me be there on the field, helping them out and all that stuff. And one of the players, he actually had a business, that business Happy Feet, with the kids, right? And he's like, hey, I like you, you know, like, I know your story. I know where you come from. I would love for you to work for me, right? And I was like, awesome. Like, that soccer related, let's do it, right?
Let's do it.
So I started helping him out. And I mean, it was a whole different deal, honestly. Like, soccer is the minimal part on that business, because you're working with kids that are 2 years old, to 6 years old, right? So honestly, their soccer ability is not what you're teaching them. You're teaching them some sort of soccer, but mostly you're learning to be, exactly. And first you're learning to be patient, first of all, you know, and then you're teaching them how to, you know, embrace different things, their motor skills, right? How not to quit, right? And I mean, as awesome as the program was, it was absolutely amazing. After 3 years of that, I was like, enough is enough, right? Like, for me, it was like, man, if I keep doing this,
you're
like,
not gonna have kids.
I was like, I love the kids, and it's absolutely amazing. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I might not want kid in the future, you know? Imagine spending like 2-3 hours of your day, 4 hours of your day with groups of 12 kids running around with soccer balls, not listening to you, and you're like, oh no, you know. It was a great experience, great lesson. But at that point, I was like, okay, let's do something else, right? So we dabble a little bit into coaching one-on-one. So older kids, right, 15-year-olds, 12, 13-year-olds, that they already play the game. But at that point, we didn't have much of a business knowledge in that sense, right? On the entrepreneurial side.
Right.
And we were like, you know what, like this is not scalable. Like my brother said, it helps pay a few bills here and there, but we're not going to make a living out of this. We don't know. We didn't know how to make a living out of that.
Right.
So that's when we decided, okay, let's look for a new opportunity. What's out there that we can do, right? And fortunately, we found something that we could do together. And that was the moment when we transitioned, right? Now, I wouldn't say I've quit the idea of soccer completely, because now with the knowledge that we've gained throughout these years,
right,
we see some projects viable, exactly, and opportunities, right? It's like, wow, we could do this and we could do that. The thing that we've learned also is that we need to focus on one thing, right? And do one thing pretty good until we can either automate that in a certain way or having systems and processes running, and then we can, put our energy on another side. So eventually, when we can do that, we'll go back to soccer for sure. Like
absolutely,
I never forget soccer. I still play soccer a bunch of times every single week. I'm an Arsenal fan. Let's go Arsenal.
Hey, I'm an Arsenal fan too. That's Arsenal. I was gonna ask who is the Arsenal fan. I know I heard it on your podcast, so that's perfect.
Let's go to Johnny, man. You're my team.
Oh man,
yes,
on,
sir.
Well, it's okay. I won't say anything because my team is going through a rough patch right now, so it's all good.
What's your team? Let's give you some chance to.
Oh man, I'm a Barca fan since Rivaldo scored that goal in 1999. I got back. Oh man, I know we went through a good phase. I'm very thankful. Unfortunately, right now we're not going through the best phase, but that's okay. We'll rise to it. And I lived in Barcelona for a full year, so that cemented my my love for Barca. So it's all good.
There you go. We have a question from Lenny, the young lady who asked the previous question. She was asking for what is one advice that people pursuing success in an industry that is so competitive. For you, it was soccer, and for her, it's theater. What advice would you give them, Luis?
I think we can both chime in, but
I have something. Well, you think on yours?
I think I got it. Can I go? Okay. Thank you for the question, by the way. But here's something that that we learned: how to be different, right? Sometimes it's not about being the best, right? At what you do is how you position yourself and be different. There's an amazing book called Play Bigger that I highly recommend, because it talks about that. How do you position yourself? Because especially when there's a ton of competition around, right? People do not compare better or worse. And then you go into, we could call it price war, right? So how are you different from them, right? Example. With us, we have a very specific show on podcasting. There's so many podcasts around there, right? So we have to differentiate ourselves to bring different guests. We now do it through referrals. But at first, when we first started, we needed to create an experience, not just an interview, right? So we're different on that sense. And the way that we onboard and the way that we bring people onto the content is very different than any other people, right? We interviewed somebody yesterday that he has a talk show, that he has a game show as a show, and he does it on Facebook, and it's amazing. And it's based on what was it called? Squares and the game show is called X's and O's. But he brings 9 experts, and he just creates this whole experience. So within the space of podcasting or live shows on Facebook, he is very different, and he's creating this experience. So I would say focus on how can you be different of the people that are in there. And then after that, there's a ton of stuff that we can go over. But I would highly recommend start with the book Play Bigger, because that was a massive shift for us as well.
A little story on differentiation, right? Not too long ago, I'll say about a year and a half, something like that. I was in this email list of a company called Thrive Themes, and they do WordPress themes for websites and stuff like that. Story, And I get an email and they say, we're hiring. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Let me see what they're hiring for. And they were hiring for a blogger. And at the moment, I didn't write anything. I didn't have any articles, nothing that I could put out there. And they were like, if you want to apply for the job, you need to send us your 3 best articles, all the stuff that they usually ask for. Right. And I was like, man, this sounds cool. I don't have any articles. It's how can I apply still to this job, right? So what I did, my skills were in videography. Like I learned how to edit video and all that stuff. Yeah. And I set up a few cameras. I sat on a table. I did a quick outline on why should they hire me. And I did a video, right? And it was honestly, I personally, it might be a little subjective here, but I think it was a pretty funny video. And I edited it all, I added some effects and stuff like that. And I sent it to them. I'm like, hey guys, what's up? Like, I saw this, that you guys were applying. I don't have any blog articles, but I did this video for you guys. I would love if you take a look. They answered me back and they were like, hey, Luis, unfortunately, we cannot hire you for the blogger position, but we have another position for you.
Wow.
Right. And I was like, that is absolutely amazing. Right.
Right.
I didn't end up taking that because my focus was on the company, but it's awesome, right? Like it created an opportunity just because I was being different than the rest, right? Instead of sending them just 3 blog articles, right?
Right.
I could have sit down there and write 3 blog articles and send it to them. But I said, how can I make this totally different, right? And they ended up offering me a different position. So that goes with my brothers. Now, what I would say is, and going back to the soccer story, how we got recruited here, is be proactive. And something that we've noticed when we see this, like, sometimes you're like scrolling through Instagram and you see like, oh, this kid is going to be the next Messi, right? He's going to be the best player in the world.
Right.
And we're like, they are just getting eyeballs to this kid, literally. Like they are just grabbing attention. So how can you grab the decision maker's attention so you can have a conversation with them, right? You are selling yourself as an actress, right? Because you said you're in the theater industry. So how can you position yourself, right? And get the attention of the decision makers so you can talk to them, whether that is emailing them, following up, like doing outreach. Some of the stuff, at first, we still do it to get people on our podcast. We send them direct messages on videos that like, hey, we love who you are. We love all this stuff, right? We would love to have you in our podcast. Yeah. And people love it because it's an individual outreach that not many people do. So just get creative and be proactive. That's what I would say.
Here's a little nugget, and hopefully like our experience serves as many to do this as well. We actually have a cousin that he's an actor, right? He's been living in Miami. He's done several commercials. His dream is to be in a big movie, right? He's working on his English crazy adventure. So he sat down with us a few months ago and he's like, guys, like, how do I do this? Like very similar to the story of our guest here, right? So we said like, okay, create a platform. Like if you want to talk to the decision makers, be the person that connects those decision makers. So you can interview these guys, you bring them into your platform, you're providing value to them because you're exposing them into an audience, right? That you can build with consistency. Right. But at the end of the day, you're building a relationship with that person who's the one making the decision. So quick example, in the theater, you can start interviewing or bringing people into your platform. It could be a podcast. It could be like Instagram Live. We just recently started an Instagram Live show, which is awesome. But then you can bring them, have an interview, 30 minutes to an hour, which people love to talk and share their stories. And then you build a relationship. And after that conversation behind cameras, you could be like, hey, by the way, this is what I do. Like, is there like, what advice would you give me? Like just put yourself out there and you'll be very surprised on how many people say yes. And because you just spend a full hour of your time with them, asking them questions about themselves, and they're loving sharing all those stories.
Now you have more authority.
Now you have more authority and you can create that relationship. So now you're going to be top of mind for the decision makers. So whenever a play comes on and they're like, oh man, I need a person like her, right? That has these capacities, right? Perfect. Let me call her because I had a great experience with her. So we've seen the success of that in our own business. We've seen the success of that in the relationships that we've been able to develop. So we highly, highly recommend it. And until now, we don't see a lot of people doing that. So that's going to be very different.
I want to add a little bit to that, which is, the reason most people don't get what they want is simply because they don't ask, right? Like you just gotta ask for it.
Right.
And you'll be surprised.
Right.
A lot of people are going to be like, you know what? Yes. Even if you ask, let's say you're an actress, right? And you are trying to get into a certain role. You go to, let's say, the director, or I don't know too much of the industry, so I'm just going to say the director, but you go to the director and you ask him, hey, are you looking for someone to play this role? You know, this is how I can benefit you and your whole project. And what is the worst that can happen? Probably them saying no. What would happen if you didn't ask? The same exact result. Like if you don't ask, you're going to have the same exact result that if they say no. But when you ask, now you have a small probability or big probability, we don't know because we need to ask, on with them saying yes, right? And maybe they say no, but they are like, hey, but you know what? I know someone that can help you out, and they can connect you with someone else. So again, just ask, just put yourself out there, because the results are absolutely amazing once you start just asking for what you want.
Wow. You just gotta try. You gotta try. You never know. All right, Luis. The big question is, you started the business. Content is profit. What does that mean? What does that mean? And how does somebody take content and make it become profitable?
Absolutely, man. So the first thing that we gotta decide is like, how do we define profit, right? For a lot of people, it's money related,
right?
But for us, it was time, relationships, a ton of stuff. So first is identify what is that profit for you. There's gonna be an element of money in there, absolutely. So a few years back, we started the social media marketing agency, right? We started selling these social media packages to different restaurants. We encountered a lot of friction as far as like the relationship with the customers that we had, because we needed to educate them on the process for a long time, and we had to convince them, blah blah blah, right? And we're like, we thought that was the way of doing business. We could not be more wrong, right? Because you don't need to convince anybody to come work with you or be your client.
Right.
You can work with the people that you really want to work, and they're actually going to ask you to be like, how can I work with you? And then they're going to ask you, what do you actually do? So it's crazy because we've had that experience, right? So throughout the years, we learned different things. We worked with different clients in different projects like videography. We did sales funnels. We helped with campaigns on brick and mortars. And then COVID happened. Like our main market was people that had brick and mortar businesses, right? And when this crazy thing happened, they all had to close. They were mandated to close. So we got phone calls within a week, 9 different locations. They were like, guys, that's it. Like there's no paycheck coming your way. And we're like, oh man, like that's a big chunk of our revenue. How are we gonna keep going? And we decided our mentors and the people that we follow and the people that we learn from, our coaches, always, they have been, guys, you need to publish. You need to publish your face off. You guys got to be out there, right? And before that, we did a couple experiments with Facebook Lives for 45 days straight, and that was awesome. And we got results, and we tested, how we can turn that content into profit, by attaching an offer and offering asking, what Alfonso was saying, asking people to like connect with you, right? So we're like, okay, this is the perfect time to actually start the show. Fonzie here, credit when credit's due. He's like, dude, stop freaking out. He slapped me twice in the face, like, kush, just like go walk it off and come back and then we'll talk. So I did that. And then we sat down and he's like, let's change perspective, right? And for us, we're like, okay, we have this time available. Let's actually start with a show that we always talked about starting. And we took inspiration from one of our clients that he published 3 times a week. And we're like, we have the time to do this. For us, consistency is the main key metric here. So if you're not consistent, you're not going to achieve any results. So we're like, okay, let's do it 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, live, because that way we don't have to edit the video, remove the friction, right? So we can execute consistently. It's raw. It's beautiful. It's amazing. We make mistakes every single time, and that's okay. So, so we decided to do that. And we're like, okay, let's do it 3 times a week. Can we stay consistent? And the answer is yes. Perfect. Let's do it. So through that platform, first we did it. We say it often. We did that show for ourselves. We wanted to grow personally. As soon as you start publishing, Tijani, you probably have seen it, right? You get better. There's some growth, internal growth that happen. And then you start meeting wonderful people and developing this relationship. So we took a very specific marketing approach to the show, which is a very specific, that's why the message is content is profit, because we want to talk to people that deal with content, because that's what we do as a business, right? So from there, immediately, because the message was so clear, we started to grow, we started to develop relationships, then that translated into asking for opportunities and turning those opportunities into business opportunities, hence profit and revenue, right? So I think the main key here is ask. The platform is just an excuse to be out there and have wonderful people on. But like Fonzie said, you got to ask.
And, putting it in like, obviously I love the story. Like the when we lived it was like eye-opening, right? Because we were afraid of publishing. We literally stood in front of the computer for 3 years, watching people preaching, like hearing people preach that you needed to publish. And we're like, yeah, we'll do it one day, right? And we never did it. And when we started doing it, we started seeing results. And it boils down to out of sight, out of mind. As simple as that. If people are not seeing you, they don't really know that you're out there. So it's the same as, like my brother said, asking, right? You're putting yourself out there. You need to take responsibility on, if I want people to know about me, I need to put myself in front of them, right? And honestly, we live in amazing times, besides like all the coronavirus stuff and all the madness going on. But we live in amazing times in the fact that anybody can get in front of anybody at any time, right? Like just go 50 years back, like small businesses, right? Like people like us wouldn't have the opportunity to have this conversation right now, right? And stream it to everybody to see. You would have to either pay for an advertisement on the TV, on a radio or a newspaper, and only bigger companies had the opportunity to do that, right? So now the lines of communications are open, but it does take an effort, right? It does take a way to build up to that. We cannot start comparing ourselves to, Gary Vaynerchuk, who might spend between 20 grand and 40 grand a month on his content team, and he's everywhere. And a lot of people want that. Of course, it'll be amazing. But how long does it took him? How did he start? He started doing one video on YouTube, right? Look at Joe Rogan. He just had $100 million contract with Spotify. How did he start it? 9 years ago, right? With one show, and he was consistent. So the question is, okay, how do I stay in front of people? First, consistency. Okay, what is my capability? How can I achieve that consistency? And then just do it. And eventually you're going to start growing. You're going to start seeing that profit. But don't forget, you need to ask for it.
Yeah. A good example to Jenny is like, you reached out in the group and you were like, hey, I'm looking for guests. Very simple example. And then we were able to connect. And I'm sure this relationship will go far from here. Right. It's going to grow. And I'm sure you've connected with wonderful people too. So that's an example, right? Sometimes it's like right in front of us, but we don't see it. It's like, okay, what is the next opportunity that we can both benefit first as people, and second, our business is the extension of us. So how can then we benefit the business side of things?
That's amazing. Some of the key words that I've heard is just asking, just ask. Just like Nike, just do it. You never know. You have the chance to get a yes or a no. If you don't get a yes, then you move on to the next thing. And then also being consistent. But when people hear the word publishing, they think it's a big term. Can you give us an example of a published material? Like what we're doing right now, is that considered publishing?
Absolutely. Anything that you put out to the world, right? Like it's funny, but yes, we've had that conversation. I'm like, hey,
it can be a tweet. Right, 150 character tweet. That's publishing, right? I'll say the key to it is, again, be consistent. And how we started, like this is the whole story. How we started 45 Live, which we absolutely love because we've had other people do it themselves, and always brings them some sort of result, which is absolutely amazing, right? So for those listening, I encourage you guys to do this that we're going to explain right now. So we did this fitness challenge called 75 Hard by Andy Frisell. I don't know if you've heard about him. And the challenge was we needed to work out twice a day for 45 minutes each workout. We needed to read 10 pages of a book every single day and some other stuff that I don't remember right now. But it was challenging, very challenging. So sometimes we will find ourselves doing workouts at 11 at night. It's like, oh, I don't want to, fail the challenge because you will have to start from day one.
Right.
So we did the whole thing, 75 days. And we were surprised. We're like, wow, that's pretty cool that we stuck to it all 75 days. Part of it was the accountability. We had to put ourselves out there and tell people that we were doing it. Right. So you're not just failing yourself. If you miss, you're failing all these other people that are watching you and listening to you. Yeah. So after that was over, we were like, okay, we need to publish. We had all that in our minds, right? And we're like, okay, how can we do it consistently?
Like, parenthesis.
Yeah.
Right before that, I remember very vividly, we were in this table meeting with business owners, and we're pitching them our services, right? And the pitch was like, hey, look at all our clients that are having awesome success. Look at all this stuff. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then they let us talk. And then after that conversation, right, they go, guys, that's amazing what you've done with all these people. But last night we were trying to research you guys, and there's nothing out there for you. Nothing. And we're like, oh, man. So the level of trust went from here to the floor.
Right.
And that deal never happened. So we came back to the office that day, and that's when we were like, okay, we need to replicate the 75 hard. We need to come up with something consistent.
Well, wait, I'm going to interview there.
Another parenthesis.
Oh my gosh.
The secret actually came in a coffee shop.
In a coffee shop.
Right.
Yeah.
Coffee shop.
Yeah.
I knew you were gonna say something about coffee
Absolutely.
shop. Go ahead.
The coffee just like puts you in this creative mode. It's like,
Right.
What are the answers?
So we connected that experience that was really painful because we were, selling a product, but we were not executing on it, right? And the story that we had in our heads, like, we have no time, right? So we're like, okay, well, if we have no time, why are we trying to execute on the content side of things, adding a ton of friction? Because if you add frictions like, I gotta edit a video, I gotta process the audio, I gotta do these graphics and blah blah blah, that takes either time or resources, right? Or money or a team or something. And at the moment we're like, okay, what's our capacity? What can we do consistently? And for us was going Facebook Live, because at the touch of a button, you're going live, and you can continue.
Yeah. So I'm like,
Luis.
we always have a fact check battle. We're like, no, that's not how it happened.
I love it.
So yeah, like we were like, okay, how can we stay consistent first, right?
Right.
And the 75 hard challenge that we did, the fitness one, it had like a little Instagram story post with all the days that you had to scratch every single one after you were done every day. And we're like, wow, that's pretty cool. It's like, what if we do one? I don't know how exactly the name came, but we're like, 45 live. Like, it rhymes. It's pretty cool, right? It's catchy.
Right.
And we're like, 45 live. It's like, yes. And we did one of those, right? We did one of those Instagram stories where you could like scratch every single day after you were doing it.
Right.
And then we came together and we're like, okay, how are we going to do this? And that's when we realized it has to be simple. Like, we cannot put because we've tried to publish before, but we had 2 cameras, the light, right? And then we had to spend like 2 hours editing a 5-minute video. So much friction. Like, who wants to do that, right? Besides a full-time video editor,
right?
Probably nobody,
Yeah.
right? And I used to enjoy video editing. I'm telling you this. I used to enjoy it, sit down and doing it.
Right.
But when you want to be consistent in a way, right? It's too much sometimes, and you're like, okay, I need help, right? So for us at that moment, I was like, we cannot edit all these videos if we want to put them out every 45 days, like every day for 45 days. So that's when we're like, okay, that's causing friction. Let's throw it away. How can we do it without friction? And it's awesome because now these platforms, they have a way for you to publish and stay in their platforms without friction, which is going live, what we're doing right now. So we're like, dude, let's just hop on a live, 5 minutes. We got 5 minutes to spare every day for sure. Like, we spend like 4 hours, 3 hours in our phone every single day.
Right.
And I'm sure we can do 5 to 10 minutes of a Facebook Live
for free.
So yeah. And free, exactly. So we started doing it. We started to put ourselves out there. And was it rough at first? Yes, of course, because we've hadn't talked to a camera and it was awkward, right? Like I remember a time one of my friends reached out and he's like, dude, you should probably look at the camera while you're talking. It's like, you know, like it looks weird when your eyes are like down here on the phone. And I was like, interesting.
Good tip.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So since that moment, I tend to look a little bit more to the camera. And the cool thing is like as the 45 live went, you start getting confident, right? And honestly, that's part of the profit side of things, right? The content is profit. Like one of the profit things that you gain is like this confidence in yourself, like the confidence of knowing that you can put thoughts into words, and it's an exciting thing. And what happened is that day 15, I think it is between day 15 and 20, we actually had to stop, right? And why we had to stop? Well, because this guy one night he came out late, you know. We had a story with one of the studios going on. One of their posts went viral, and the fitness studios, they were like, put it down. And my brother's like, no, they were fighting each other. And he's like, this is what you want, right? You want like polarizing topics, people talking about you. And he didn't end up taking it down, but he got home. He was mad. He was tired. And, you know, he still had to put his baby back to bed. He had a 4-month-old at that moment. And it was like 11:30.
It's the same baby.
Yeah, same baby.
Right. Same baby.
It's not 4 months old anymore.
Yeah. He had, you know, it was like 11:30, and he's like, wow, I need to do my 45 live, right? If he didn't do it, he would have had to start again from day one. Right. And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to tell the story of what happened today. And that's the thing. You don't have to overcomplicate it, because again, going back to friction, what is part of that friction? Sometimes it's planning what to say, right? The outline of the video and stuff. What am I going to say? Hey, we live every day. We have so many stories that come our way, right? And we can tell those stories. So our framework turned into, let's grab what happened today, do the story, and then connect it to our business. So my brother went home. He's like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell the story and connect it to our business. So he tells the story. He goes live. Hey guys, you know, big eyes, all tired.
Red eyes.
Yeah. Terrible background at the house, you know, 0 production level. Well, what happens is that one guy was listening and he's like, hey dude, I really like what you're talking about. I would love to have you over at a content dinner at my house with other business owners. So my brother goes there because, you know, he loves to eat. And he goes to content dinner.
Absolutely. I'm not going to even deny that.
That's right.
We all love it. I'm just messing with it.
That's delicious.
You know, after this dinner, the guy comes to him and he's like, hey, I'm looking exactly for someone that does what you guys are doing right now.
There you go.
That wouldn't have happened if we weren't going live every single day. That wouldn't have happened if he would have said at 11 at night, hey, I'm just going to go to sleep. Right? He said, it's 5 minutes. I'm just going to tell this story for 5 minutes, put myself out there and ask. Because at the end of the videos, we always had a call to action. We would always ask. So he did it. He did the ask. And this guy showed up. Day 15, between day 15 and 20, we had to stop because we had so much business coming in that now we had to fulfill, right? And we couldn't finish the 45 live, but it proved that it worked because we were staying top of mind for a lot of people. Yeah. And we shared the story with a lot of people, and people was like, wow, that is so exciting. It's like, were you guys doing it? Why are you guys not doing it again? And we're like, we look at each other. We're like,
good question.
That's a good idea. It's like, why don't we do it again? Right.
Do more of what works.
Yeah.
Right?
Do more of what works. Like, why do we have to reinvent the wheel? Right. So we did it again around the same days. I had to stop because we had new business coming in and we had to fulfill. He stayed with it and he finished the full 45 days. But again, we got results. And then we started sharing the story. Yeah. We had other people like, wow, that's amazing. Let me try it out. They tried it out. They got clients. This lady in Germany, she tried it out. She started a group and she started charging for people to be in her group. So every single time we share this and people done it, they get some sort of results, which is absolutely amazing. So
rewarding.
Again, I encourage people that are watching right now to go and honestly do the 45 live. It's super simple. All you got to do is 3-5 minutes a day, you know, however long you want to talk. It doesn't matter. Just put yourself out there without friction and tell the story, connect it to your business and ask for something at the end. And you'll notice like The results are absolutely amazing. Honestly, I think if we didn't get any results, like monetary wise, like business wise, I think I would still be preaching it like this, just because of the fact on how much growth you get personally.
Yeah.
Again, the putting your thoughts into words, that confidence. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't, that confidence, you can't put money in it because it's invaluable. It helps you personally, and for the both of you, it helps you professionally as well. And we can't end this episode without talking about one of the books that you shared on your podcast, the .com Secrets, the Underground Playbook for Growing Your Company Online by Russell Brunson.
Yes.
Talk to us briefly for people that haven't had the opportunity to read that book. What is your takeaway from that book, Fonzo?
For me, that book means a lot, honestly, because when I was in Happy Feet, right, I knew I had to do something else. I wanted to do something else. I didn't know where to start. There's so much information out there, right? Mm-hmm. And that book literally explains you like step by step what you need to do. It's an awesome guide. The book by itself is like a marketing degree. I'm not lying. Like, you learn so much about marketing just by that one book. And I remember myself sitting at the parking lot of a Panda Express. I love Panda. We love Panda Express.
Oh, beautiful.
And
so delicious.
I was sitting there waiting to go to a class of Happy Feet. And I was reading this book, and I remember I was like, wow, it's so easy. That's the thing, right? The book gave me confidence to put something out there, to start something else. So again, it's very practical, step by step, what you need to do on how to launch, put your offers out there to start getting clients, which is absolutely amazing. So hands down, 10 out of 10, totally recommend it for anybody that wants that book.
I love it. I love it. All right. So we are coming close to the end of this podcast recording. Your story is so fascinating. Like I mentioned before we got on live, we can do this for like 3 hours straight. You're too busy and you want to move on to the next thing. Luis, I just want you to give me 2-3 slangs from Venezuela that somebody from Venezuela would understand. For example, hashtag table face.
Yes. I was gonna go there, my man. All
That's right.
No, number one is table face. For those in Spanish, Venezuelans will understand it under cara tabla. But funny story. It's people are like, what's cara tabla? What's table face? And on that episode, we attempted to define it, right? But it's when you have that confidence to actually go for what you want and ask for it to the person that you want in front of you, right? And it's like not having any fear, just a confident, right? People use it in Venezuela as in, hey, you're trying to go after that girl, right? And you do this crazy,
you have Latino, no shame whatsoever.
No shame whatsoever. Right. You go up to the girl and you ask her out, whatever. You explain exactly what you want to do. PG or not PG, whatever. But it's in that environment. But we started applying that principle of table face in our business. And obviously super respectful with everybody that we talk to, but it's about that confidence of going after what you want and asking for it, right? Not being afraid of what anybody else thinks. So that's one. I don't know I think that's it. That's a more powerful one.
More powerful.
Well, we have the famous word, chévere. Chévere. It's dude, so good, so awesome. People are like, what's that? And I guess nobody else has it in the rest of the world.
Yeah, but it's funny because when we talk to people that speak Spanish as well, and we use that word, they're like, oh, I love that word. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Right.
And then a third one. What would be a third?
It could be chamo.
Chamo. Chamo is boy or
like a small like a small boy. You could just call them chamo, but chamo sounds like a name of a fish, honestly.
Like something like cute, like I don't know.
So here's
and then go ahead.
There's a lot of like different things that we can say, but the most important thing is everything seems to be on the loving side, right? It's like it's like a nickname, a cute nickname in any of these things, and that's the beautiful thing about our culture, like Hispanics, like in general, not just Venezuelans, right? We're beautiful people, like we're driven people, like we're explorers, like Fonse
have a lot of sense of humor,
lots of sense of humor, and we don't take things like too seriously, and I think to a degree that's like very, very important, right? Because we're always laughing. My wife is Canadian, so totally opposite. On the Hispanic side of things, right? She obviously has a ton of patience to deal with me, but she never like believes me when I'm serious because I'm always laughing or throwing a joke out there.
That's
so
right.
I'm like,
that's right.
That's just me, man. And we're about to like go through all this crazy stuff, and I'm telling jokes, and it's like our way to cope, right? With a lot of stuff. And I do think that that's beautiful, and we just need to keep that, right? We don't see it often when we migrate to different countries, so we need to bring it back. So #TableFace.
That's right. I love it, man. All right, so I told you that I came to the United States 2005, and my picture of Venezuela is very different from what it is now since 2015. I saw a country that was prosperous, that was thriving, that had people were doing well, generally speaking. They had oil before all the craziness happened. How is your family doing over there right now?
Yeah, I mean, they are. I would say people that are there mostly surviving, right? Like the surviving mode. We are fortunate enough that they can afford food. They can go to a supermarket and get food. But at the same time, it is very difficult because a few years back they started regulating everything. So imagine going to a supermarket here and you grab 2 gallons of milk, right? Or I don't know, a bunch of pounds of chicken, and you go to pay and they're like, excuse me, I'm sorry, you can only take 1 gallon and half of the chicken that you want to buy, right? And that's the reality back home. Imagine going to the groceries and you go into an aisle and it's empty. There's nothing, or only one brand of cereal, which the box, it doesn't have a cover anymore because it's too expensive to print a cover on the box, right? So you only have like one brand of rice, one brand of everything, right? You don't have, when this is the example, when we bring our parents here, we drop our mom out of Walmart. She's like, just drop me at Walmart and just come pick me up in like 5 hours. Yeah. She comes out of Walmart with nothing. She didn't buy anything, maybe like 2 things, but she just wants to go and see. She's like, there's so many stuff, right? And I know a lot of people are going to say like, oh, that's bad, and consumption and all that stuff, whatever. But it's kind of like that freedom, like you can choose all this stuff, right? Like how wonderful it is to have all these options. So she just goes because she enjoys watching all that stuff, right? And right now back home, yes, they can afford food and they're okay, but again, the government has used also the virus and all that stuff to crack down, because they were happening a lot of protesting and against the government, lots of stuff. So the government took advantage of this to say, everybody stay in their home. We're going to put the military aside. If anything, goes down, you'll go to jail. And yeah, it's crazy because out of the 30 people that I graduated with, I think I can count with one hand the guys that are still in the country. Everybody else just went out somewhere else.
Yeah, it's like the youth has migrated, and we started hearing wonderful stories about Venezuelans doing wonderful things all around the world. Like it's incredible. And we once were a nation that other countries went to. Melting pot and beautiful, and that's why it makes it so amazing. So part of our dream, part of the thing that we're working for, part of that why that we talked about at the beginning, is like we want to be able to provide opportunities when these doors open back up, which they will very soon. There's a lot of people working really hard for this to happen, and we want to make sure that we do our part to make sure that we can influence in a very positive way different audiences, inspire different people to follow their dreams no matter what, right? Communicate in front of a camera, that is so valuable, right? so we can then, at some point get back it. I want my son to go back to the country and see the beautiful things that we saw, right? Talk to the beautiful people that live there in every single corner of that country. And at the moment, we really want to bring our family closer to us, because we're very close to them, right? We want to keep them close. We want to provide them with opportunities, because they literally provided us with opportunities. So we want to make sure that we do that with them as well.
Wow, that's amazing. And we're coming close to the end of the podcast. And Luis, you mentioned your family. You have a little boy, and you and your wife. What is a hope that you have for your son growing up into this world right now, and then also being Canadian, American, Venezuelan? How do you describe hope for that son growing up into this world?
Oh man, one word would be opportunities, right? Like, I want to be able to provide any opportunity that he wants to do. Absolutely. I'm so biased on the soccer side of things. So he's like watching every single game with me. So I'm like praying that he actually loves the sport. If he doesn't, that's okay. But, like whatever he wants to do, really, and opportunities. And, we live in a world that we're connected like everywhere, right? And the relationships that we're able to build today, that will provide an opportunity tomorrow. So, for him, just making sure that he grows in a safe environment. That's mostly, we happen to grow up in a very safe environment until everything changed, right? So, in the back of my mind, there's a lot of stuff happening today, not only this country, but in the world. And it's like, okay, how can we put the pieces together to make sure that the family stays safe? Luca has the opportunities that will give him that edge in life, and he can also inspire other people. So he's 16 months. So, he's running around, kicking the soccer ball, chatting a lot. I speak Spanish. My wife speaks English. So he's going to be bilingual from the ground up. That provided a lot of opportunities for us. And dude, at the end of the day, it's all about having fun, right? If we don't enjoy the process, if we don't enjoy what we do, why do it? So at the end of the day, is whatever he chooses to do, and we're going to be there to support him and continue, to have a blast.
Well, he definitely has a good uncle sitting right next to you. And I know he's going to enjoy the process of growing up.
Fun fact, do you want to know how many diapers has he changed in 6 months?
0.
Two diapers.
Wow.
Yes. Hey, so I don't know the title favorite uncle, because
it's coming,
Oh,
I love it.
Yeah, I don't have a kid, but obviously what I see with him and his wife, it's amazing. Obviously, the love that they pour into his kid. But I think growing up, and I'm speaking for both of us here, is with our parents, that they were so supportive on whatever we wanted to do. Right. I think that translated into how he probably is gonna be, and how I am gonna be with my kids, right?
Right.
We need to get you a girlfriend first.
Indeed. But it's that, right? It's like we want to support them as well and give them the same opportunities on, hey, if you want to be a shoe shiner, we're gonna go for it. You gotta put all into it and be the best. Yeah. That do your best effort, right?
How are we different?
You got
different shoe shiner. Create those relationships.
You gotta do the best effort, right? So whatever he wants to do and whatever my future kids wants to do, we'll be supportive on that.
All right, that's awesome. And we mentioned already in the middle of the conversation, you are the host of Content is Profit podcast, and you have a business called the Bizbros, Business Brothers, and people can find you at bizbros.co. And then also people can look up your podcast any and everywhere that they consume podcasts, and they can also look up videos on YouTube to find out more about the stuff that you do, and they can also Google the both of you, and that's what I did to be able to get more content on you guys. And it's been a pleasure talking to y'all, and I appreciate you coming in and sharing your experiences with me and the viewers and listeners of my podcast. And before I let you go, Alfonzo, at the end of the day, what do you want people to take away from Content is Profit? What is the takeaway from that?
Yeah, for me personally, and Is it the inside work that publishing does for you? Obviously, I love, the relationships that we have built, and all that we've gotten grown with it. But even if we didn't get any of that at a personal level, that growth, that confidence, like you mentioned before, uh, the ability of putting your thoughts into words, it is something that I'm definitely gonna cherish forever, and I'm just gonna keep doing because it becomes extremely exciting and enjoyable, right? So
The
for
process
me,
is fun.
yeah.
Awesome. And Luis, is there anything else that I haven't asked that I should have asked about the two of you? Obviously, there is a bunch of other questions we could talk about, but what is your takeaway? What is there anything else that I haven't asked that I should have asked?
Oh man, that's a really good question. And I don't know. I feel like we covered a lot.
Right.
I think maybe what's next. Right now for us, it's heavy focus on our own content, right? Like we actually had a chat with our team a few days back, and there's awesome relationships happening and new projects coming on, and it looks really, really cool. We're very excited for that. But then I remember like a lead guy was like, "Hey guys, that's so awesome, and I want to make sure that we're with you guys, like for the trip, right? We're having a blast." And we're like, "Don't worry, you guys are." Even if at some point for some reason XYZ we ended up with 0 clients, with I highly doubt, we are going to continue to do this because we love what we do. So we do today, we have Contents Profit, we have Content Bites on IGTV, on Instagram Live, and then we have partner coaches back in Colombia, and they're launching the LMT process with their own show. Then we have our own Mass Live show in Spanish that's coming very, very soon. So
Awesome.
There's different projects, right? We're diving into Twitch and gaming side of things. So anything publishing that we want to enjoy and have fun and connect with people, that's happening, and content is in the center of it. So stay tuned. There's different projects coming in, and we would love to connect, right? At the end of the day, like if you guys have any comments, any questions, any ideas, any things that you guys want to have a conversation with, right now we're very, very active with our DMs on Facebook and Instagram, so feel free to go in there and start a conversation.
Yeah, if you don't mind me adding one more thing, it would be, like, don't do it alone, right? I personally, right, like I'm blessed to have my brother here with me as
Right.
my business partner, right?
Goes both ways.
Yeah. And like at first we were trying to do it all by ourselves, right? I mean, even at the beginning when we were together, we weren't actually that together. I was trying to do a lot of stuff just by myself,
right?
And trying to listen to a lot of people, so many different opinions, right? Which I'm not saying it is wrong, but focus was key, right? So focusing in one or two people that you want to follow, you really look up to, and you're like, okay, let me see how they did it. How can I even do it? Either like follow some of the steps and then do it on my own.
Right.
And environment is key as well. So for us, a big part of the change came when we joined other communities of entrepreneurs, right? Other communities of people that were successful. That's when for us, like that meant, that drove huge change in our business, in everything that we did, because you start getting the same habits that they have, you start building them as well. So the best example I can give you is that if you, for example, someone that wants to lose weight, it's very, very difficult to do it by themselves, stay motivated, right? Just do alone workouts in your house. Like, is it possible? Of course. The level of difficulty is going to be very, very high. But the best way to instill a new habit in you is to just go to the people that already have that habit. So that's why people join gyms, right? And that's why, for example, like studios like the one that my brother used to work at, that's why they're so successful, because they are building that community of like-minded people with like similar goals. So you get in there, and eventually all that starts to get into you as well. So I would encourage people to find a community that you look up to, people that are doing things that you want to do, because for me that's also one of the biggest drivers of change.
Yeah, well, you answered the next question I was going to ask, because whenever you go live at the end of your podcast, your live streaming, you would ask people, you provide the practical steps that they need. Even if it's 1 or 2 steps, you would always do that. So I appreciate you covering that. And the last question for the both of you is, what are you grateful for in 2020?
Honestly, so many things. I do write like my what I'm grateful for in the mornings. And personally, number one is always I'm grateful. I always write down this one first. I'm grateful for being healthier, happier, and wealthier than I was yesterday. Every single day I write down that one. And the second one that I always write as well is I'm thankful for my family and for their health, that they're healthy as well, right? So for me, it's a huge part having my brother here with me, knowing that my parents, within everything that's happening, they're safe and they're okay. I'm extremely grateful for that. But besides that, in the business, I'm extremely grateful because, this, regardless, everything what happened for us, it was a game changer, right? Perspective. We learned so much. We started meeting so many people. So grateful for all these relationships, like you, Tijani, man. So cool to meet you. So I'm extremely thankful for all those relationships and for the team that we managed to bring into the company as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
For me, the big one is perspective. I had that freak out moment. There's so much stuff happening, so much noise outside. And we talked at the beginning of the year, like January, we're like, focus is like the one thing, but still like, it's really challenging to like tune out all the noise that can happen either with the business or outside of the business.
Right.
And something that could have been really, really bad and put us out of business. When the second we changed the perspective, it was a game changer. To the point that, we're working now very closely with 17 members, right? Like 4 full times, 3 not so full times, right? and they help us in different areas of the business, right? The relationships, like Fonzie was saying. So perspective is awesome. I was actually on a call with this group of people, right? And this lady, this was like very close to that time, and she used to work in the cruise industry, and very high up. And then she was in this group because she was looking for something new to do. And she was sharing the story on how she found out that she was no longer working for that company. So they called her, and that's it. And she had to leave the cruise that she was working on and go back and move in with her parents. And, she's in her late 30s. And she remembers one morning, and her parents were asking how you feel, like, what's all this? And, what are you going to do now? And she turned around and she decided that moment right there that she was going to change her perspective. So she turned around and she told her parents, hey, I am not unemployed. I am self-employed. And she started going, asking for her own opportunities, going chasing. And that's why she was in that mastermind group and learning and improving herself so she could take it to a next level. And that was the realization. I'm like, wow, this is it, right? We gotta change the perspective. As soon as we recognize something that is not going the way that we want to, there might be a way why that's happening to us, right? And we sit down, slow down, like Fonzie said, 2 slaps in my face, and it's like, okay, breathe in and reset and be like, what is the new perspective from this? Like, why is this happening? What is the opportunity that is in front of us? And more than likely you'll find one, and then go with it, go execute, and you'll be surprised.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much. To my left is Luis Camejo, and to my right is also Luis Alfonso Camejo. both of them combined are the Camejo brothers from Venezuela. We've had a pleasure talking to the both of them, sharing with us what it means to have content and making it profit, and the definition for what profit is. It's not just about the money. It's also things like having that confidence to sit in front of a camera and share your thoughts with the entire world. And then also having that confidence to hit that publish, hit that live button is something big. It's not easy. So that is also incorporated in the definition for profit. Like I said, it's been a pleasure talking to the both of you. People can find you online. They can look you up on YouTube. They can look you up on Google. They can look you up on Facebook and look up Bizbros, or just look up your names, and they can find you anywhere, man. Again, I thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us. We'll stay in touch, and I look forward to what comes next.
Awesome. Thank you for having us. It was a blast.
Of course.